There's no indication from any of the evidence at all that self-defense would be a viable defense. No weapons were found near the victims, on the victims. Nobody at all, in all of the many interviews that have been done on this case by eyewitnesses, talked about either of these folks having weapons or even appearing to reach for a weapon.
If you've been following this channel, you know we've covered the Sin City Manny case from the very beginning, the shocking double shooting on the Las Vegas Strip, the social media live stream, the immediate arrest. Well, today, this case takes its biggest turn yet. Nevada prosecutors have just announced they're going after the death penalty against Manuel Ruiz. That's right, this isn't just a murder trial anymore. The state is now seeking the ultimate punishment. Here's what's changed. Under Nevada law, there are certain aggravating factors that qualify a case for capital punishment. Prosecutors say Manny's alleged actions check nearly every box. We're talking about multiple victims, Rodney and Tanisha Finley. A public setting, the Bellagio Fountains, one of the most heavily visited tourist spots in America, with bystanders everywhere. The use of a deadly weapon, a firearm, and perhaps most damaging for the defense. A video prosecutors claim shows this was a calculated attack, not a heat-of-the-moment act. And remember, this all unfolded in front of cameras, both Manny's own live stream and the Strip's ever-present surveillance. Prosecutors believe that combination gives them an airtight narrative, a planned, brazen double homicide caught on camera in one of the most public places in the country. But there's another layer here, Julie, Manny's wife. In our earlier coverage, we talked about the speculation surrounding whether Julie, Manny's wife, might face any involvement in the case. But new information makes it clear that isn't the case, as the evidence now shows she cooperated fully with police from the very start. Coverage that she arrived at the scene, told police her husband was involved, and handed over his phone. At the time, there were questions about her role. Some speculated she might have known more or even been part of it. But now, her cooperation looks like it could completely vindicate her. She didn't witness the shooting itself, but by voluntarily giving evidence to police, she not only distanced herself legally, she may have handed prosecutors one of their strongest pieces of proof: metadata, location data, and live stream footage tying Manny directly to the crime. So in this update, we're going deep into why the prosecution believes this is a textbook penalty case, and why Julie's actions that night could become a pivotal point in court. This is no longer just about guilt or innocence. It's about whether Manny will spend the rest of his life in prison or face the state's most severe sentence. Let's break it down. Okay, so here's where this case really takes a turn. Nevada prosecutors aren't just charging Manny with murder. They've officially said they're going after the death penalty. That's the absolute maximum punishment you can get in this state, and they don't throw it on the table for every case. It's reserved for the most extreme situations. So why this one? Well, first off, there were two victims, Rodney and Tanisha Finley. Second, it happened right on the Las Vegas Strip in front of the Bellagio Fountains. That's one of the busiest tourist spots in the country. Prosecutors say that kind of setting put a lot of other people at risk, not just the victims. According to investigators, this wasn't just a crime, it was a crime caught live on camera for the internet to see. That kind of detail can make a jury see it as cold, calculated, and even meant to send a message. Now, when the DA's office makes a decision like this, they run it through something called a death panel committee. That's where senior prosecutors review all the facts, what makes the case worse, aggravating factors, and what might make it less severe, mitigating factors. Manny's defense team would have been allowed to come in and argue why he shouldn't face the death penalty, but clearly, the DA wasn't convinced. Bottom line, this trial just went from high stakes to life or death stakes. It's no longer just about whether Manny is guilty or innocent. If he's convicted, the next big question will be, does he spend life in prison, or does the state of Nevada put him to death? So, you might be wondering what exactly makes this case death penalty material in Nevada. Well, the state has a list of aggravating factors, basically, reasons they can argue the crime is so serious that execution is on the table. And in Manny's case, prosecutors say they've got several boxes checked. First, there were two victims. Rodney and Tanisha Finley both lost their lives that night. Multiple murders automatically make the stakes higher. Second, look at where it happened, right on the Las Vegas Strip in front of the Bellagio Fountains. That's not just a local street corner. It's one of the busiest tourist spots in the world. Hundreds of people could have been in the line of fire. Third, they're pointing to planning and premeditation. Manny allegedly had a feud with the victims beforehand, and then there's the fact he confronted them on camera. Prosecutors say that doesn't look random, it looks deliberate. And finally, the weapon, both killings were done with a gun. That's another legal tick mark in the aggravating column. Put it all together, and you've got the recipe. Prosecutors need to make a serious push for the death penalty under Nevada law. Okay, so here's where things get even more airtight for prosecutors. Remember, we've talked before about how Las Vegas is basically one giant surveillance network. Every casino, hotel, and street corner on the Strip has cameras rolling 24/7. Well, in this case, they've got Manny on multiple angles. Not only do the security cameras show him before, during, and after the shooting, but his own social media live stream basically matched that exact footage. Same clothes, same location, same time. You couldn't script it more clearly if you tried. They were able to ID him by his outfit, very distinctive, and his build and walk matched perfectly with his online videos. Plus, the live stream, yeah, that's the smoking gun in terms of identification. It's like two separate camera crews caught the same crime scene, one being the casino security team, the other being Manny himself. Now, right after the shooting, Manny didn't stick around. He bolts into the valet area at the Paris hotel and, get this, starts stripping off his shirt and hat. Why? Most likely to change his look and avoid being recognized. But here's the kicker. Police found those exact items later, and you can bet they're being tested for DNA, gunshot residue, maybe even blood evidence. That's what we call in court physical corroboration. So what does all this mean? The prosecution can now paint a full minute-by-minute timeline. Manny in the clothes before the shooting, Manny in the same clothes during the shooting, Manny ditching the clothes right after. It's not just about catching him on camera. It's about showing he knew what he did and tried to hide it, and that, in legal terms, screams consciousness of guilt. Not a good look if you're facing the death penalty. So here's the wild part of this case. Right after the shooting, Manny's wife was actually right there with him. The two of them had been out doing their usual thing, walking the Vegas Strip, live streaming for their YouTube channel, Sin City Family. She was holding his phone on a gimbal, filming as they went. They're walking near the Bellagio fountains when she suddenly hears 3 loud shots. Now, here's the thing. She says she didn't actually see the shooting happen. She was a few steps ahead of Manny, so when the shots rang out, she turned and bolted north up the sidewalk. She spots a police officer who just happened to be dealing with something else at the time, runs straight over, and basically drops the bombshell. "I think my husband just shot someone." She then tells the officer his full name, Manuel Manny Diaz Ruiz. So at that point, cops know exactly who they're looking for. And get this, she hands over his cell phone right there on the spot. This is the same phone that was being used to live stream the night, meaning it might have captured everything, the walk, the confrontation, maybe even the moment it all went down. Plus, it's got GPS data, timestamps, and all those real-time viewer comments people were making as they watched live. From a legal standpoint, that's huge. Even though she didn't witness the shooting with her own eyes, she basically confirmed Manny was at the scene right after it happened, and she gave police what's probably the most important piece of evidence in this case. The kicker? She did all of this voluntarily. No one had to pull it out of her, and that kind of cooperation makes things a lot tougher for Manny's defense, because it ties him directly to the crime in a way you can't really walk back. Now, here's where it gets interesting from a legal angle. First off, she didn't see the shooting happen. She only heard the gunshots. That means if this goes to trial, she can't get up there and say, "I saw Manny pull the trigger," because she didn't. In legal terms, that's called hearsay, when you're repeating something you didn't personally witness. But her words still carry a lot of weight because she placed Manny at the scene right after it happened and told police she thought he was involved. That's huge. Then there's the whole spousal privilege thing. Normally, in some states, a husband or wife can't be forced to testify against their spouse. But here's the catch, she volunteered the info. She walked right up to police, told them who Manny was, and even handed over his phone. Because she did that on her own, prosecutors can probably use her statements in court without much trouble. And let's not forget about that phone. It's not just a phone. It's basically a portable crime scene. It was live streaming, so there might be video of Manny before, during, or right after the shooting. And the live chat? Viewers might have been reacting in real time, giving clues about intent or what was happening off camera. Finally, her cooperation is a double-edged sword. For her, it's good. She's clearly not hiding anything, which could keep her out of legal trouble. But for Manny, not so much. She basically handed the prosecution a direct link between him, the shooting, and the weapon. That's the kind of evidence defense lawyers hate because it's really hard to spin. Alright guys, that's where we're going to wrap this public update on the Sin City Manny case. This has been one of the most shocking and disturbing stories to come out of the Las Vegas Strip in a long time, and the new developments, especially around the death penalty, are going to make this one of the most closely watched trials in Nevada in recent years. Now, for our members, I've got something special coming up. In our next members-only video, we're going to break down exactly how this case could play out in court. We'll look at the charges Manny's facing, how the prosecution might structure their argument, what kind of defense strategy we might see, and how the death penalty process actually works in Nevada. I'll also talk about the possible timelines, because these cases can drag on for years, and what that means for both sides. So if you're a member, keep an eye out for that upload. If you're not, this is a good time to join, because we're going deep into territory that I can't always fully cover here on the public channel. Before we close out though, I want to take a moment to acknowledge something really important. We've been talking about evidence, court strategies, and legal terms, but at the heart of all of this are two human beings, Rodney and Tanisha Finley, whose lives were taken in what appears to be a completely senseless act of violence. No matter what happens in court, nothing can bring them back, and their families are now left to live with the kind of loss that never really heals. Alright, that's it for today's update. If you found this helpful, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to follow the rest of this case. Members, stick around, we've got a big one coming up just for you. Everyone else, I'll see you in the next update. Stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.